The most dangerous violence is the violence that feels moral. A man sat on death row for over 30 years, while the world repeatedly promised itself peace was coming. First, peace would come when they found the person responsible. Then peace would come when the trial ended. Then peace would come when the sentence was handed down. Then peace would come when the prison doors shut behind him forever. 30 years passed. Still no peace. Now the world says peace will finally arrive when chemicals enter his bloodstream and his organs stop functioning. Think carefully about that momentum. For 3 decades, the mind rehearsed grievance, the way a concert pianist rehearses scales, until the fingers move without thought. The anger became muscle memory. The outrage became identity. The story became sacred. And now the final act approaches, like the closing scene of a ceremony unconsciously rehearsed for years. That word matters, ceremony, because executions have always been ceremonies. Yesterday, crowds gathered around wooden platforms while bodies swung from ropes. Before that, stones flew through the air while entire communities convinced themselves they were protecting morality. Before that, flames rose beneath human beings labeled dangerous, cursed, or evil. Now fluorescent lights hum softly above polished floors, while witnesses sit quietly behind glass. The ritual became sterile. That is all. The wood became chrome. The rope became chemicals. The screaming crowd became silent observers in pressed uniforms. But the psychological structure barely changed at all. A restrained body is still surrounded by authority figures. Witnesses still gather. A community still waits emotionally for closure. Society still tells itself peace will arrive immediately after the body stops moving. Only the vocabulary evolved. Not poison, lethal injection. Not killing, carrying out justice. Not revenge, closure. Language becomes perfume sprayed over violence, so the conscience can tolerate its own reflection. Because if headlines simply read, "The state plans to poison a restrained man to death Thursday morning," the emotional atmosphere would shift immediately. The wording matters, because words frame perception before thought even begins. And the ego survives through framing. It constantly renames destruction to preserve innocence, while participating in destruction. Wars become peacekeeping missions. Bombs become strategic responses. Torture becomes enhanced interrogation. Civilian deaths become collateral damage. Humanity keeps repainting the same cage and calling it progress. Because the ego's favorite disguise is moral camouflage. Violence feels cleaner when righteousness wraps around it like a flag. That is why the most dangerous violence is not the violence that openly calls itself hatred. The most dangerous violence is the violence that feels holy. The violence that feels deserved. The violence that feels justified. The violence performed with clean hands, official paperwork, approved procedures, and collective applause. And beneath every execution sits a contradiction almost nobody wants to examine honestly. If punishment heals fear, why does fear remain? If killing people teaches society not to kill, why does violence continue multiplying across history? If executions restore peace, why does humanity keep searching for new enemies generation after generation? Because the problem was never solved at its source. The mind keeps trying to eliminate internal conflict through external destruction. It keeps searching for peace by removing bodies.
But bodies are endlessly replaceable inside the dream. One criminal disappears, another arrives. One war ends, another begins. One hated figure dies, another takes the stage. Because unresolved fear always needs a container. The world keeps trying to mop up blood without questioning the knife in its own hand. And the ego survives by assigning guilt somewhere outside itself. That is why, even after 30 years behind bars, the emotional machinery still demanded another act. The cage was not enough. Isolation was not enough. Aging was not enough. Time was not enough. The grievance still hungered for completion. Yet the strange irony is this. If someone has been locked away for decades, separated from society, unable to physically harm anyone, then what exactly is the execution psychologically accomplishing? The body was already contained. The threat was already neutralized.
So the final act is no longer about protection. It becomes symbolic, ceremonial, emotional. A ritual sacrifice disguised as moral resolution. And perhaps the coldest part of all is this. The same mind that says life is sacred simultaneously invents elaborate systems for ending life professionally. The ego worships the body while secretly hating it. It fears bodies, desires bodies, controls bodies, protects bodies, punishes bodies, destroys bodies. Because the body is the ego's favorite symbol of separation. A body says, I am here and you are there. I can be harmed, I can harm, I can die. And once the mind fully identifies with bodies, fear becomes inevitable. Then morality itself becomes weaponized. People begin believing peace can be achieved if the correct bodies disappear. But peace built upon elimination is not peace. It is temporary emotional satisfaction dependent upon ongoing conflict. Humanity keeps building cleaner execution chambers, the way a smoker buys stronger air freshener while refusing to question the smoke itself. Real peace does not require enemies. Real peace does not require ceremonies of destruction. Real peace does not arrive at the exact moment another body stops breathing. And that may be the hardest realization of all. Because if removing people never removes fear, then the problem was never fundamentally located in people to begin with.